I grew up on a 5-acre property with a menagerie of animals. The usual, a dog, a cat, goldfish by the millions, hermit crabs, horrible creatures, a hamster that escaped and we found 2 weeks later, and a bird named Tweety who died from malnutrition.
Get closer to the mic and speak louder.
Then, ass of the sister. My parents took Tweety out and left the cage empty to see if my sister and I would notice. It took us 5 days until we discovered him missing. We also had a duck that we named Baby Alive, after the doll with the same name. He got eaten by a fox. No, we did not have a fox. That would have been irresponsible of my parents. We had horse stables, which my parents rented to neighborhood kids to board their horses. All I wanted was a horse of my own. My negotiating skills are better today than they were back then. Because one day my father said, "Would you like a donkey or a goat?" Well, I really did not want either of those animals. Should I hold out for a horse or should I settle? I thought. What can you do with a donkey? You can't ride it. It probably smells and would be a waste of an animal. Then there was this image of a nice cuddly goat. Small so I could pick him up with my 70-pound frame. I could teach him tricks. Feed him from a baby bottle. That is what I wanted, just like the petting zoo. My goat arrived. He was a miniature pygmy goat, and I would soon discover he was neither nice nor cuddly. And he was not attractive either. He was as black as coal, and with huge goatee that hung to the floor. His eyes were a piercing brown that would scare anyone. He had horns 6 inches long with a pointy end. And he was as wide around as he was tall. His goat oysters were huge in proportion to his body. There was no pygmy effect there. They were like a fifth leg which dragged on the ground. I used to catch the horses taking a peek. They must have had oyster envy. He smelled like the devil himself. This goat marked everything in his path, including himself. There were a few years that no one came trick-or-treating. Kids must have thought something had died at the Askowitz house. We decided to name him Black Cesar, after the pirate, which he never answered to, so we nicknamed him Bahat, the only piercing sound he would make. My daily ritual was to climb up his stable fence, jump over, and prepare and assume the position. Then my cuddly, smelly, well-endowed goat charged like a bull. He attempted to wrap his horns around my chicken leg and take me down. Even a 12-year-old learns the position quick, hands out in front to absorb as much and flip him on his side. Then I would run to the paddock where I would feed him and then go to school. Yes, my hands smelled like shit. Actually, everything about my goat was smelly. When we had my bar mitzvah in my yard, we had to move Black Cesar completely off the property. This is so the guests would not have to endure his stench. Black Cesar had other interests and hobbies besides attacking me. He enjoyed eating his way out of his stable, chewing apart the 2x4s that kept him inside and the neighbors safe. This was way before anyone talked about not using lead-based paint. This goat was crazy anyway. My mother received the most interesting phone calls because of Black Cesar. "Hi, Mrs. Askowitz. Your goat is attacking oncoming cars on 120th Street." Or, "Hello. Your goat is knocking down my mailbox." Or poor Mrs. Fogel, who called in a panic to say, "Bonnie, your goat is ramming my front door and I cannot get out of my house." One time, my goat was kidnapped. Whoever took him obviously got to know him pretty quickly because they let him get out of the car just a few blocks down the road. Somehow, everyone knew we had a goat. One of our neighbors had a female goat, and they wanted my sweet goat to be their goat stud. Easier said than done. In his life, my goat never really accomplished anything. How would he be with another goat? What if he attacked the neighbor's goat? But we said, okay. The fee would be one baby goat. We did not say at the time that they would have to keep it, but that's what we thought. So it was Black Caesar's big day. I was waiting for my mother to say, let's go, and get in the car and drive over. But no, my mother would never have a smelly goat in her car. So I would have to walk my goat the mile to our neighbor's house. I attached 3 long leashes together so that I wouldn't have to be too close to him during the walk. I hopped the fence, assumed the position, and of course he rushed me. I flipped him, attached the leashes, and sprinted ahead. For the first few blocks, he had me in his sights. All he wanted to do was gore me. He came at me from both sides with his horns, stabbing me in the shins. We had a nice jog. Then he got tired midway and slowed down to a walk. The last few blocks, I had to pull the son of a bitch. We were quite a sight to see, a skinny boy dragging a goat down the street. Yeah, it was hotter than hell. When we arrived, I said, here he is. I dropped him off and went home. I came back the next day to find out from the neighbors that Black Caesar knew what he was doing and did it well and often. I did not know why that was so impressive, but I just smiled and took my goat home. It was a much more leisurely stroll home. Not only did my neighbors know about my goat, but apparently the Metro Zoo had heard about him also. They needed a stud for their herd. Black Caesar was a legend. I did not hesitate when asked if I would donate him to the zoo. Maybe my parents would buy me a horse now. I still think about Black Caesar sometimes, and remember how he was a legend at the zoo. When I see a petting zoo and my children want to venture in, I cringe. I know the goats have the son of Satan inside of them. Kids assume the position.